Hello, and welcome to another episode of Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co host, Will. Will, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm William Montgomery, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And we have another drive by Kimmy Bambara. Is that how you pronounce your name? Bambara?
Yeah, it's Bambara.
Bambara, okay. You dropped the Montgomery part, huh? Uh, Traitor.
Don't worry, it's just coming back relatively soon.
Oh, I mean, I know you got your aliases, and the warrants. You got to be careful.
Hmm.
But anyway, since Kimmy, you're going to be here for a little bit, she's doing a drive-by. You want to get her take on, or at least thoughts on, the topic for today. The topic for today is going to be users. Those people that we rarely know, that are in all of our lives for at least a moment, and sometimes we ourselves happen to be users, depending on the situation. So, any thoughts, Kimmy?
Absolutely. I think that, users is just something that you have to be very careful with when people are using you. You have to be able to identify it initially, see it for what it is, and then put a stance on it immediately. Because I was just talking with somebody about this earlier, and some people are only in relationship with people because they can use them for whatever it is that they can, and that can be draining, especially if you're a yes person. And I struggle with that. I'm a yes person. It's so hard. If anyone knows me, it's so hard for me to say no. And that's something that I literally have to work on because I was under the assumption that, as a Christian, you need to, be used, right? But what happens there is you want to avail yourself and be used by God, not by
Mm,
people.
mm.
So remind
Oops.
myself of that, every time, someone needs me for something, even if I'm available, because I have to, have standards, and I have to put boundaries in place because you just can't, it's just impossible to always, say yes. And it's good for your mental health too. So, that's something that I'm learning. And when we take it to a biblical text, I believe it's in Luke 6, and it says, bless those who curse you and pray for those who, despitefully use you. And, it's so hard to do that because it's like this person, when you come to the realization someone is only in relationship with you because they want to use you, that is a tough thing to deal with. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a giver, if you're a sharer, if you're a lender, if you're a great listener, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that you really have to take close attention to. So yeah, that's my take on it. Just have to be very, very careful with that.
Well, yeah, clearly, if you're a person who's got a good heart, you try to help people, and 99 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, you help and not necessarily expect anything in return. The problem with users is they're going to keep using you until they get all 99 out of that 100, and then try to squeeze that last one out of you, because if they don't get what they want, they're going to have a problem with you. And so it makes you feel bad. Say, wow, I try to help, I do this and whatever, go out of my way. And then next thing I know, you got an attitude with me, feeling some kind of way because I didn't do the extra. And then when I think about it and look at you and say, well, what have you done for me? You know, absolutely nothing, because they're users. They don't get used. They don't want to be used. They won't allow themselves to be used. And so, oh, Andre Guilty just said hello. I'm surprised. So we reaching New York here from the ATL. My
Hey,
God,
the
this
roots are
is,
deep.
yeah, we blowing up. Mm,
Uh, if I might interject on the topic a little bit, I think
sure.
there's different levels of users
Mm,
because in a sense, I mean, if we kind of break it down, I don't know the actual definition of it, but uh, somebody using somebody is not always negative. As a child, we use our parents. There's no way that we can give back to our parents until it's time for us to take care of them. So technically, they would be considered users. I don't consider that a negative user, but so we have to have a context around the conversation, because there's good users, there's people that just use, and then there's the abusers who, well, I guess the adult user, or the adolescent user would probably be the one that's using it to kind of finagle something. The child is not using it to finagle, is using it to grow and benefit, and hopefully they will return that in the end run. But the people that just, if you go out to help somebody, that person technically could be using you because they can't give anything back to you, but you're giving out the kindness of your heart. So I wouldn't necessarily consider that negative. But if they know that they can keep going to you and going to you and going to you and going to you and going to you, yeah, that's like really abusing it. And then you got the abusers, the habitual abusers, who they don't care. Oh, you got $1? Let me get 50 cents. Man, you got it, man. Come on, man. You got it. We cool like that, right?
Yeah. Well, I got a comment here from Andre again. Some people like to be used, which
Some
is
people do.
true, because they feel that, they're trying to do the right thing. And so every time they go out of their way to help or to whatever, they're feeling good because hey, I'm helping. But then when you look at being use me, you're not getting anything out of this yourself. I see another comment here. Public servants are used for a fee. Public servants would be people who are obligated to serve the public, but they get paid for it, and they don't really have to use. They really don't have to serve the public because they're getting paid. It's one of those backwards type swords.
I mean,
You would like to know that public servants are, committed to helping the people that have, elected them or put them in office or appointed them or whatever. But that's not necessarily the case in this society. Maybe earlier in the 1500s or the 1400s or sometime before Columbus. I don't know. But nowadays, you want to get into politics so you can use people.
well,
I want to get paid and I want to be important. That's why I'm in politics. I ain't in politics to help you. Go on, Will.
can I throw something out? Because I think I'm not exactly sure that what that person was trying to get at, but I mean, you got public servants, and then you got people that serve the public, like churches and things like that. So their parishioners are, funding these churches for them to do good things, and some people use those services with the inability to pay those back. So I'm not sure if they meant it in like the police or the fire department, or some of these public servants that get paid, or if they were talking about actually like nonprofits or something like that that are going out there, giving grants and things of that nature. So
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure Andre was talking about, elected officials,
okay,
and that's a certain breed of people, that we're not talking about right now.
okay,
Anyway, he goes on to point out, I see the comments. I know you guys
mhm,
don't see it. That reporters are used all the time. Yeah, people want to get their agenda across, you know, but then, we're talking about it from the perspective of personal,
yeah,
individual relationships. We're talking about it from the adult, let's just say from the teenager to adult and older population. Because as a child, you want to be accepted into the group, the clique or whatever, and so you do things that you believe please the other members in order for them to like you. You know,
mhm,
but your parents are responsible to kind of help you distinguish between wanting to be liked and going the extra mile. and doing things that are good, nice, or whatever. But then you also have to realize that, yo, you the only one putting stuff on the table. That is not necessarily a healthy relationship,
Mhm.
you know. Um, so we can't equate that to babies, because babies they got nothing. They ain't bringing nothing but poop. That's all they bring to the table, poop. You know, and when they get old enough, they figure out, well, I can't bring that to the table. I got to take it to the toilet.
Mhm.
Anyway, Andre has another comment here. Women use me a lot, but it's a trade-off, I guess. Um,
Well,
being used by women is a totally, kind of a separate conversation.
well,
Because
can I respond to that?
Wrong
Because
episode.
if it's a trade-off, then it's not the definition of using that we're using at this particular time. We're using the word user as far as somebody just continually taking and not giving anything in return. If you're trading something for something, that's not the using that we're referring to.
well, the question of value is always on the table.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm taking you out to dinner, and at the end of the dinner, I expect service, and
And I'm not talking about customer service either.
just because I took you out to McDonald's don't mean that I shouldn't get service. But anyway, and that gets us back to the issue of fatherlessness. But
yeah.
we'll move on. Man, I only bought a McDonald's, a Happy Meal, and look what I got, a baby. So anyway, but I have a short video I'm gonna put up. And Kimmy, I know you may have to go, so I'm gonna say, if you're here, great. If you're not, we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you for having me. Love you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here.
3 warning signs you're dealing with a user/taker. Life is all about give and take. Or so it should be. But some people are all gimme, 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 and they take more than their fair share. How do you know if you're dealing with a taker? Warning sign number 1, the case of the missing gratitude chip. Most of us have been taught that gratitude, feeling thankful when good things happen to us, is a positive trait. But takers don't feel gratitude because they believe they deserve everything they get. They don't feel a need to say thank you because they believe they were entitled to whatever they took in the first place. Warning sign number 2, people aren't people, they're tools. Takers see other people as opportunities, more than they see them as individuals. Other people, to a taker, are valuable in direct proportion to how much they can do for the taker. If what you can offer the taker diminishes, the taker won't care as much about the relationship. Takers are the type you see at a networking event who are in one conversation but leave mid-sentence because they spotted someone more important. Warning sign number 3, turnabout is not fair play. Takers don't like an equal playing field. They freak out at the slightest sign of someone else taking from them or getting ahead. And if you do take something from a taker, don't expect to be forgiven. Takers expect everyone else to forgive them, but they aren't very good at forgiving other people for the exact same behavior. What can you do if you have a taker in your life? If the taker is an adult, there might not be much you can do to change them. You can model good behavior, but the best thing you can do is protect yourself and not give more to them than they deserve. According to Grant's research, the healthiest pattern is to be a matcher, someone who is happy to give, as long as there is a sense of fairness and balance to what they get in return. Remind yourself that the taker in your life isn't going to give you very much, so don't give very much in return. Takers don't like boundaries, but by protecting yourself, you'll be mentally healthier in the long run. If your child is a taker, it's not too late to intervene. Most children are takers, at least in the early years. When you teach them to share their toys in order to get friends to play with them in the sandbox, you're teaching them how to be matchers. Both kids get something in return. Find opportunities to point out examples to your child where more than one person can succeed, like passing the ball to a teammate who has a better shot so the team can win the championship. You don't have to let a taker take over your life. Watch the warning signs, protect yourself, and be generous to the people who deserve it.
Okay, so we're back.
Mhm.
Um, Takers, users, pretty much the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, they make one point in there about the you may be engaging a person and someone else comes along that seems to be more important, and they just leave this conversation and start a conversation with the other person. Now, I think that should have been prefaced in that depending on the environment that you're in, um, it might not be a taking or user type situation. I mean, I've, been in business for a number of years and working in the business community for a number of years. And yeah, I'll go out to an event and network, and in networking, that doesn't mean standing there the whole night talking to you. That means getting out there and meeting people, meeting new people, meeting people that you want to meet that you haven't met, type of a thing, getting around. So having a conversation at any point in time in the event. Let's just say it's a dinner, and you stop and you walk by the table. Hey, how you doing or whatever, and how you been? You tell a couple of jokes or whatever, and then you see somebody walk in that is more important. So you immediately cut that conversation and go over and talk to them because this is about networking and not about it ain't personal type of a thing. So I just wanted to preface that is some people might think that's a user, somebody's trying to use them. No, they're trying to do what they do. Go on.
Yeah.
Well,
And also on that same on that same point, when you're at one of those um, events, the only way that really is a user is if you're using this person and their connection with that person to get to that person that just came in the door. That
mm,
would be the context. I think the video was a little off on that one, just because you're. I mean, if his brother could have just walked in like, "Hey, that's my brother," and you go talk to him. So, I mean, that was a little skewed on that video, but but like I said, if that person's in a conversation and like trying to use that person to meet the person that just came in the door, that's that definition of user that we're, pretty much using in that context.
well, repeat that. I want to hear that again.
I said, as far as like when, if that person getting ready to, that's in a conversation with somebody is getting to know that person only to meet that person that just came in the door, that would be the version of using that we're talking about. If you're in a conversation with somebody and somebody important walks in, you don't know, that could be that person's brother. They want to go talk to them. That's not really using. That's, hey, somebody else more important came in. We could talk later. So I don't really see that as using in the context that the video used it. I see it as, hey, we met, we had a conversation. I gotta go. Now you
Oh,
don't want to be rude about it.
no, no, no. You don't.
Yeah,
You just turn your back and walk away.
yeah.
But Andre's pointing out here, you're not supposed to mingle with people way under your financial status. Now that's a relative term, and that's something that you may or may not be able to accurately identify on a regular basis. Because just because somebody comes in there wearing flip flops and shorts and a tank top doesn't mean they ain't got money.
They might own
Okay,
the whole show.
doesn't mean that they don't have influence. Doesn't mean that they don't have a position. So you want to kind of focus before you make your move. I've been in a situation, and I don't have a problem with it. You know, I'm trying to do business. It's nice seeing you, and saying hi and that kind of a thing. But you ain't putting no money in my pocket. I'm not trying to have that spend a lot of time here because these are unique situations. Those 2 or 3 hours at the dinner or the luncheon or whatever is special. I can talk with you anytime,
Hmm.
you know, particularly when I ain't got no money and you may have some money. But talk to you anytime. But I'm trying to get with people who got money, Kimmy just left.
Okay.
All right, Kimmy, bye bye. You
All
know,
right.
so I understand Andre's point that you are trying to do business. You don't want to spend a lot of time with things that just aren't going to be productive. Put it that way. In conversations, he's saying something else here. He's kind of chatty. Uh, Takeoff was a multimillionaire at a bowling alley playing dice and gummy gangsters. He is playing dice with gummy gangsters. He is now dead. He was not supposed to be in that mix. Um, Andre, listen, do me a favor. Come on this show next week, and send me a text. I'll send you the link. You can come on and be in the studio, and then I can understand exactly what you're saying here.
Well, I mean, I think what he's trying to say is, well, in that context, you're at a certain level, and you probably should operate with people on that same level. Well, in that sense, it wasn't a business sense. He wasn't there. To
In a
make money. It was
in a
like,
non-business setting,
yeah.
you're talking to people, whatever. And I mean, I've had a few friends over the years who were users,
Hmm.
and at a point I realized that they were just using me, and I kind of felt kind of bad, but it didn't really matter to me because I was going to do what I did anyway.
Hmm.
I was going to give, I was going to support anyway. But then when the light bulb finally comes on and you realize that, dag, man, you don't give anything. You don't bring anything extra to the table, even like, and I think I've used this example before. You have, friends and, they come over and you have a couple of drinks or whatever, fine. But then every time they come over, they want to drink your liquor. They never bring any liquor.
Hmm.
They never say, well, come on over to my house and have a drink. So that's a user.
Hmm.
That's somebody. And then after a while, for me, I'm just talking about me. Yeah, I looked at this situation and said, man, every time I see you, you want to have a drink. That's which is okay. But when you gonna buy?
Hmm.
I mean, I got a birthday every year. There's holidays every year, and then there's extra days, and you ain't reaching in your pocket for no day. And so, you get to the point where you say, look, I got to cut that part off. We could talk, we can socialize, but I ain't reaching in my pocket no more for you, you know. And even if you ask or you beg, no, I ain't got it. And be lying through my teeth, you know, just waiting to get away from you so I can go and have a drink. But, those are users.
Hmm.
And, there ain't no shame in their game. Oh, you ain't got it. I'm going on to the next one.
Hmm.
Be my guest. But we shouldn't really be talking about drinking. We're trying to be Christians here, but
I mean,
anyway,
somebody did change water to wine, so just let's keep that in perspective. So we're not
that
too
was
far from our,
wine,
yeah.
and yeah, we should have that conversation about alcohol and wine and mixed drinks and all these other things that's going around here, because um, it's not all criminal, you know.
Hmm.
It's kind of like money, it's the root. It can be the root
Hmm. You don't
of
want to
evil,
abuse it.
yeah, but you don't have to go all the way there.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with socially having a glass of wine or a beer or something like that, or a drink. But when you just get to the point where you can't control yourself, or you have to have a certain uh you know head on before you become comfortable, you might have a problem there, either
Hmm.
physiological or mental, or both. That you got to go. I got to have 12 drinks before the party gets started. You got a problem.
Hmm.
But we're talking about users, people who use you, And socializing, social situations is not just the only kind of use there is. You could be. I played on basketball teams. When one guy just thought he was Michael Jordan, he wanted to shoot all the time, every time, and say, sometimes like you ain't in position to shoot. Sometimes I'm in position to shoot. Why don't you pass me the ball? No, no, man. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit it. You took 30 shots. You hit one. You waiting? When you gonna warm up? Game be over. There's a user, somebody who feels that they have to be, you know, number one. They have to be in the limelight all the time, and anybody else in the limelight is going to be a problem for them. And we have a lot of teams. I mean, I used to watch, Chicago, and I followed them. And Mike, when he came on, he let people understand, yeah, I can do it, and I will do it. But we got a team here. Your boy's gonna have to carry your own water, you know. And he make them passes and stuff, make your head spin. You're like, okay, good. And everybody was, getting their props, you know. So that wasn't a user situation, but it could have easily have been because they paid him to do this. I pay you to win. I don't care how you win. I'm paying you to win. And so you passing the ball to Scotty and he dropped it or whatever. I got a problem with that, but we won. Okay. All right. So obviously you know what you're doing. So that's not necessarily a user type situation because it is actually a give and take type thing, you know. So, any other thoughts?
Well, I mean, we talking about, our whole platform is about fatherlessness. So I guess we should endeavor into the situation of between how men and women use each other, because that's usually how we wind up with fatherless children.
Well, yeah, there's probably about as many men out there. Well, I ain't gonna say that there's many men as there are women out there who use the other sex, uh, but it's not a good situation. At this, especially at this time in our society, where we know what the options are. I know back in the 70s they talk about free love, everybody, doing their thing, type of thing, which was stupid, you know. The next thing you know, the big AIDS epidemic or pandemic, whatever you want to call it. And so, well, how'd you get that? Oh, yeah, well, I was just, with 3, 4 guys, 3, 4 women during the course of the week. Really? How do you keep all those phone numbers in your head? Because we didn't have, cell phones that kept the phone number for you. You had to get a phone book out to, look up people's numbers.
Got that black book.
Yeah, on the black book type thing. You got to carry that with you, and if you drop it, you got a problem because you don't know who picked it up and who's looking at it. So yeah, but things have changed, and now, even now, I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago about this new push across the country about abortions. Not that I'm saying that that's a viable option to children, but yeah, some people use it that way, and other people use having babies as an income. It don't matter as long as I got another kid coming in here, I'm gonna get a check.
Yeah.
So you want to raise, make a baby. But yeah, how do we get on this topic?
Users. Using each other, using men, using women, women using men, women using the system, men using the system. Because if you know the system, you can use it. And if you use it to try to benefit yourself in the maximum capacity, I mean, it is what it is. You got to call a spade a spade,
Yeah, but you should, well, yeah, we would assume that you should know better. Some things that actually make sense and some things that just because I can get into the check in here from a child support payment doesn't mean that that's a career choice, because I got these mouths to feed and I really need to pay attention to these children. Having babies just to have babies, they all need and they deserve attention. They deserve your time. Um, and we've talked about the importance of that, spending time with your child. And right now, once a week, this is what I do with you,
Mhm.
spend time with you. We talk
Mhm.
about different things or whatever. We may agree, we may not agree, but at
Yeah.
least we talked about it. It ain't like, you can walk away and say, well, I didn't learn nothing from my father. I had to make a baby.
Mhm.
That was it. I figured that out on my own. Uh, but anyway, um, yeah. Well, you got anything else? Because I'm about.
Yeah. Well, I had an idea and then I had lost it, but
Oh,
it was a reference to. Well, I mean, unfortunately, you do have some women that they think the money is that the government gives is the be all the end all. Them kids need love, they need attention from not just their mother, they also need it from their father. So just because a person is getting financial benefits doesn't mean that that child is benefiting to the best of its ability. And buying them, well, to be on topic with the user, you have some, not all. Don't try to shadow ban me or whatever, but you have some women that will use their child as a prop. Like, oh, well, my kid got J's, my kid looking fly, flashy, this, that, and the other, to pretend like they're living a better lifestyle than they are, and then they don't know where they're going to get their food from next week, and that's a huge problem, not just for the kid, but it's also a problem for the mother because now you under undue stress because you're trying to live up to what society is saying your life's supposed to be like in the hood. You get a couple of dollars, buy some J's. You get a couple of dollars, buy a bag. Get your hair done, get your nails done. You know what I'm saying? But all this stuff contributes to the deterioration of our people because just because you got flashy things, you ain't got no food in your stomach. You know, it
well,
affects the brain, it affects everything.
well, we as men, we need to be on our game all the time. We need to recognize that first off, when you meet a woman, there's a reason why she's available to stand in front of you. Good, bad, or indifferent. There's a reason. Oh, I was at the grocery store, the deli or whatever, and she walked in and yeah, she was looking good. She walked in and she was looking good for a reason. Okay?
Hmm.
Oh no, I dress like this all the time with the eyelashes and the nails all kinds of. Really? So who's paying for you to maintain that hairdo, them nails, and them eyelashes?
Hmm.
Somebody paying for it, you know. And
Hmm.
so as a man, I need to understand, at least to myself, what I'm looking at is what I'm going to be getting into.
Hmm.
And yeah, okay, yeah, life is good. We had we was kicking it. We had a couple of drinks or whatever, and a couple of blunts or whatever. And then we did our thing. You know, and there lies where the problem is. You did your thing, but did you do it the right way? You know, because there's
Hmm.
all kinds of options out here. You know, she might have be carrying something that you didn't know about.
Hmm.
She may be looking to make a baby that you didn't know about.
Hmm.
She may have other baby daddies. Well, you should be able to recognize that when you come to her apartment, because you probably living home with your parents because you ain't got no apartment. Uh, and if you had an apartment, you'd be quite selective in who you're going to bring to it. Now, I think one of the points that Andre made about dealing with people below your financial situation is an important consideration because they be looking to step up.
Hmm.
You looking to hold on and or move up. But that's it's easier when there's two people holding on and looking to move up than it is for one person who ain't got nothing trying to step up, because they want to move up, you know.
Well,
But I mean, that's you things you got to keep in mind because you can't read anybody's mind when you walk up on them. You have to wait for it to kind of unfold in front of you and all the side situations to kind of reveal themselves to you before you make a decision. And that's
well,
the only point I'm trying to make is I want to keep dribbling on, but that
but
there
I,
are. I'm sorry. Go on. Go
I
on.
was gonna say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I will say that that dynamic that you it's
Mhm.
always going to be lopsided. Women always want to date up. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
ingrained in their system because we as men we're supposed to be supposed to provide security, stability, all these things. So if they, a lot of women when they look at somebody on their same level, they don't see them. They don't respect them. They're looking for that guy that's the next level up. So they always inherently are trying to level up, as opposed to us men. We tend to look down, not negatively, but we tend to look down and take a woman as she is. Oh, she's beautiful, she's young, like, that'd be a good person to have children with or whatever. We look at we look at different things than women look at.
Well, yeah,
Women look at Mhm,
men might do that. I don't. I've known a lot of men, and since I am a man, I don't see it that way. I see it, that yeah, uh, true. I'm just being funny.
mhm,
Um, when I was out, younger, looking for a wife or whatever, I was looking for a wife,
mhm,
you know, and I knew that you can't read people's mind, but you can look at them and get an understanding of how they carry themselves, what their goals are. When you talk to them, you want to find out what they're thinking, what they're doing, and stuff like that. There, you want to get an understanding of their family background, because a lot of things. And I was going to say this earlier. A lot of times you run into people and you're trying to evaluate them, and they're carrying baggage. And sometimes a lot of times it's baggage that they don't even know they're carrying.
mhm,
When you come upon let's say a female, and she may have one child, a couple of children or whatever, nice, trying to work, but then you sit down and you talk to her and you find out, well, her sister's got two children and a baby daddy. you know the grandmother had four children and no baby daddy. It's like, well, this seems to be a pattern. It's one
mhm.
generation to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. They say, well, the one you're looking at, they don't even realize that this baggage I'm carrying, that the likelihood of me to continue living that kind of a lifestyle or making those kind of decisions, you know, well, I like this guy. He's good looking. He's got a nice car and everything. Yeah, he got a couple of felonies, and he got two, three baby mamas. But yeah, he a good looking guy, and he's got dreams.
It could work.
No, it can't. But anyway,
I mean, that's the thought process.
yeah, I
It could
know
work.
it could work. I could change him. No, you can't change him. This is a grown man. You know, this is his life. This is what he does. I make mistakes. I go to jail. I make babies, and they just wherever. Who cares? It's, well, how am I going to find a man? What look,
Uh,
look, and the ones that just don't meet the checklist, leave them alone. You know.
Well, see that's kind of the issue that we have nowadays because you have some people with unrealistic checklists. They want a six-figure guy. They're not looking at the average Joe who's not, running the streets and selling this and selling that, or strong arming this person, strong arming that person. So the average Joe gets looked over, and he's the one that will probably be there, most committed, home every night, not looking at getting thrown in jail for the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? Be there for the kids. But those are, and this is, and how society is now with the young folks, that guy's a lame, so they don't want to be with the lame. They want to be with the flashy, always got something going on guy that's attracted to them. And we kind of need to get away from that stereotype because just like Andre mentioned, young man, multimillionaire, he's out there trying to enjoy his life or whatever. He wasn't really doing anything. He was just standing there. His cousin had an argument with somebody, and 2 minutes later, he loses his life.
Uh,
So it's like, you know, there's not that many men compared to women. There's not that many black men compared to black women out there. So you have a lot of women going after a small minority of men, especially if you say like six, person making six figures. So everybody's looking at them and they're overlooking the rest of us. I'm not making six figures, but hey, you know, I'm all right with that. But you
But you
know,
got you got people out there. Let's just say looking for someone with six figures is a goal on your wish list.
mhm,
The reality is that a lot of people who come to the point in life where they're making six figures is because they had somebody pushing them, somebody supporting them and getting there. You hear all the time about, two people got married and then the one goes to night school, becomes a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, accountant, whatever they become, businessman or something like that there, and they become successful. And yeah, you got those people that'll say, well, I got it like that and I don't need you, you know, but that's the character flaw that you probably should have identified somewhere along the road. But anyway, in our society, there are remedies for that kind of attitude. You know, yeah, I stayed home, watched the kids while he went to school and then worked late and made his way up the ladder, and now he's head honcho and making all this money, and he's like running around chasing these young secretaries like that. You just like, one second. You
mhm.
you know, as a woman, say, look, let's have a conversation. We done been through all this, and I've been behind you. I've been supporting you, whatever. And now you get to the point where you think it's okay to do what the hell you want to do. And say, but remember, you're going to sleep one night. Lorraine Bobbitt, or whatever her name was, yeah,
Mhm.
she caught her husband when he was asleep. Okay, so you gotta start paying attention here. This is the team that brought you to where you are, you know, and let's do this and let's continue to do it the right way. But I'm going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, I wanted to interject because um, a lot of men or a lot of men are not desirable to those women while they're working on their wealth. So they're going out on their own, doing what they need to do to get that wealth. And then you mentioned that he's chasing the secretaries around it. That he's the one being chased because other people see. No, I'm serious. Like
I understand.
you have people that know, hey, this guy is the head honcho at such and such corporation. He's at least six-figure girl. We need to go there where he go to lunch, and we need to, they shopping. They shop. People go out there and shop for what they want, and they know you better than you know yourself because they probably done Googled you and did a background check on you. I mean, it's crazy what females will do. But anyway,
Get a credit report,
yeah,
but
but they'll
but
find out and they'll be like, okay, well, is he with somebody? Is he not with some? You got a lot of women out there that'll try to tear up a home. But
well, you're right about that, and it's unfortunate that is, but if you're looking for the right person
mhm,
and you ask your questions and you do your research or whatever, and you get an understanding of them before you start even thinking about making a baby, and you say, okay, well, what's important here? Does he love me or does he lust me? If he loves me, if he can love me, if he's, that kind, love is the most important thing. All this other stuff will find its way into your life, especially if you have a godly life. You're trying to do the right thing, you know, it's going to come. And if it's not coming, I tell you, God will let you know it's time to move on, you know. Yeah.
I say something a little controversial right now. But something I've heard, and it kind of makes sense.
Mm.
So I'm just going, to preface that. Um, some people feel that marriage is not about love; it's about duty and responsibility. You find a good person, because people fall out of love every day. One
Oh,
day they love you, the next day they don't. What's going to keep that person there? If I loved you for 6 months, and then after 6 months, I'm like, I don't love him anymore. I don't love her anymore. What's going to keep them there? The duty and the responsibility to that person, to that family. Because we're supposed to get married and have kids. That's what it's supposed to be. A lot of people, they get the kids first, then they get married, or they
maybe.
get married. Yeah, they get married and they might have a kid, but then they hearing everybody else doing this, that, and the other, and they're like, oh well, things are so great out there. Let me go. And because a lot of marriages have been dissolved because 80% of the time, women file for divorce because the grass looks greener on the other side. Then they go out there and they, you know, have whatever issues. But, you know, having that duty and that responsibility, like, hey, I chose to be with this person through better or worse. It doesn't say anything in the vows about love. I mean, you got, well, some in there. It's like,
Well, let me correct you on that
yeah,
one.
yeah. I
It
mean,
depends on what vows you decided you agreed on that you were going to enter into this relationship with. If you
mhm,
use the standard statement, then love and cherish, and for better or for worse, and all that kind of good stuff comes into play.
mhm,
But what was important before you even have these conversations about vows is that, do they love you? Did you know? And are they a person of integrity? And these are things that you have to try to ferret out before you commit to them, whether it just be that we're dating, or we're having sex, or we're friends with benefits, whatever way it is.
mhm.
Because you start to run the risk or live a risky lifestyle where you could become pregnant. It's not that easy to say, well, like, hey, I'm out, because now the child is involved, and the child deserves to have two parents in their life. And if you've made this baby with someone that you realize that you can't stand for many different reasons, other than the fact that they liked you, they lied to you, whatever, you're always going to be questioning what they do with your child when they're with the child, whether they already then whether they're if they're not trustworthy. You got to try to ferret this stuff out early on before you make that final decision. And yeah, you know, sometimes you get tricked, you know, and hopefully you want to limit that to, maybe once, maybe, try to avoid it as much as you can. But again, you know, you got to do your due diligence before you get too far down the road.
But I mean, I would go on to say, love is important, but what happens when the love is not there anymore?
Then
That's why a lot of women
the
are.
love wasn't there in the first place, and if it's
No,
not there anymore.
I disagree because some people fall out of love all the time. I was in love with him today. I fell out of love with him, and these
You
women.
weren't you weren't in love with them. You were
Hold
in
on.
lust with them.
Some people were married 20, 30 years and they're
Mm.
getting divorces because they are under the impression that, hey, I fell out of love with him. But that's what I'm saying. If you're going to put love as the higher priority, which is fine, what happens if you turn around and stop loving that person? This is why people are leaving marriages, because they're getting in love, they're falling in love. It could be puppy love, could be whatever love. But as soon as that feeling changes, they don't see a responsibility of staying with that person. And they could have a couple of kids with that person, doesn't matter. And this is why we got to address both of those, because you're making a promise unto God. That's your duty to uphold that. You're saying, hey, I will love, honor, and cherish this person for, the rest of my days. So when you stop feeling love for that person, are you going to say, well, I'm not going to hold up to this responsibility anymore? You got to have that duty to stay in that marriage, because this is why it's getting torn apart.
Well, I understand that, and to me, obviously, as you pointed out, one of the keys is duty and responsibility. But that comes with character. Character comes first. If the person you are marrying uh, has demonstrated to you that they're low of character, or have no integrity because they'll do anything that pleases them or whatever, you want to have, second thoughts, you know. And love, yeah, okay, there'll be good days, there'll be bad days, but love is there. If they love you, the love is there. You made me mad today, or you're doing stuff that is hurting me, and then they want to explain and have a conversation, and whatever, and go through all the things that married people go through, to the point of either the mate doesn't want to listen, or they just can't help themselves. And so, yeah, I can love you from a distance. You know, I don't need to be married to you because you've done these things and you keep doing these things and you won't change. You know, that's a whole different situation. But the
Mhm.
love, if they genuinely love you, they love you. But I don't have to be with you just because I love you. You know, but we got married and we loved each other at that moment in time, and you know, let some say we grew apart.
Mhm.
Well, how do you grow apart? Meaning that you were doing your thing, they were doing their thing, and it just overtook them. Well, then where was the love? Because the love would have said, I'm trying to do this, you're trying to do that, but we still need to continue to, interact and engage each other because sometimes you're up, sometimes I'm up, you know, whatever. So yeah, it's complicated, true,
Mhm.
and your
And
points are well made. Um,
I mean, if I can throw something else on the fire, because if you think about it, a lot of cultures they have arranged marriages. There's no falling in love before. Dad promises you to this other family. Y'all get married. Y'all families are connected, and it's a done deal. And love comes later,
yeah, well,
and that
it,
happens in a lot of cultures.
it might come later. There's no guarantee that it'll come
Yeah,
later, but those are heathens.
not necessarily.
No, they are.
Not necessarily.
They are.
We can't make that statement. I'm trying to help you.
I made it. I made it. I made it.
There's cultures that do
That's
that,
that's
and
what
they're
I
not.
believe in, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway,
They're not. There's a lot of Muslim religions that have multiple wives, but
hey,
we're not
listen,
going to get into all that.
their religion is their religion, and they do what they do. I got nothing to do
But,
about it. Got nothing to say
but
about
I'm
it.
just saying you can't call them heathens because
No, they are.
I wouldn't do that. But because they could say the same thing about us.
Hey, man.
Actually, they do call us infidels, but you know,
Yeah, we probably
each is
are.
his own. But I mean,
We
you
probably
know,
are. But
but
and at the end of the day,
mhm,
you know, regardless of, and not talking about anybody's religious beliefs or whatever, at the end of the day, when you look at it, if it happened to me, I'm gonna feel some kind of way, and it ain't gonna be about, well, the higher being said this is, uh, it crafted it to be like this, and it was like that, and then at the end of the day, I'm feeling this kind of way. There's a disconnect somewhere in the line. Okay, that's all I'm saying. There's a
mhm,
disconnect there because the higher being, if they're really looking out for you and you're doing what they ask you to do, at the end of the day, it's going to be good. It's
mhm,
always going to be good, And even if you don't understand the good there, anybody looking at it will be able to say, "Oh, that's good. That worked out well."
yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, last point. Andre says here, have you seen social media? The values don't exist. Yeah, life has become totally different because we get inundated with information, all these different opinions, what they call fake news. I know you know about that, their type of a thing. And but you got to have your own values. You got to have what I wake up with in the morning is who I am. You know, if at the time that I lay down in the evening, I'm confused, that's on me. I need to put that social media vehicle apparatus down if it's going to take me places where I forget who I am during the course of a day. You know, social media is great for entertainment purposes only, not to build a lifestyle on. Yeah.
But the whole purpose of it is very addictive, and people can't differentiate reality from social media, and you know, it's a problem. But it can be used for good, but it can also be, it could tear up a culture from within. And Andre also says today, love is not the priority. Financial is number one. Sex is number two. Love maybe three or four. So and today's society, that's how it's been propagated to be. It's not like how it was back in the day, when one person meets another person and they spend time together, meet over a milkshake or, a loaf of bread or something like that. Hey, sharing. Hey, I knew this old man. He was like telling me that he used to buy a loaf of bread for like 15 cents, and they poured a hot butter on it, and he walked to work and he'll eat it. Man, it sounded good to me too. But this is early,
I understand that.
early 1900s.
Yeah.
And he was talking about he's like 5 years old, and but you meet people on a one-on-one basis, and y'all grow together. It's not like that anymore. Everybody meet online. You meet
No,
25,
no, wait, wait,
35
wait, wait,
people.
wait. I understand what you're saying, and I'm
Mhm.
not going to say you're not correct, but I am going to say that it don't have to be that way,
Yeah.
and it really shouldn't be that way. I don't need someone else to convince me that their definition of life and lifestyle is what I should aspire to. I aspire to what works for me. And we've had this conversation. Back in the day, buying sneakers. You could buy Adidas's for $25, and you could buy Converse's for $8.25, and you could buy Skips for $4. Now, anywhere in that range, is available to you, but you make the decision. I'll spend the $8.25 to buy Converses because, yeah, they look socially good, but also they represent, me on the court. I'm a player. I use player shoes. I don't use no skips, be slipping up and down and falling on my back. No. And I don't need no Adidas's because I don't need you to tell me how I should play. I play the way I play. Go on.
But the thing that I mean, well, as far as playing basketball, that's probably a good deal. But as far as for any other reason, you know, those people that become wealthy, they usually buying those skips because they're taking that other couple of dollars and investing it, at a younger age, and is benefiting them to be wealthy in the long run because they understand the value of money,
Yeah,
and
yeah. And they can afford
we're
they can afford the Adidas's, or whatever. And some of them break, and going to do that. But that's them. But that's the point. That's them. That's their decision to do what they do.
yeah.
I do what works for me. All right.
No, I'm saying like the basketball sense, you're right, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like if it was just a normal everyday sense, you know, people will buy that $4 and invest the rest of that money. And so we have to start learning the value of money and
Mhm.
not trying to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with, hey, you know what? If I take this, invest it wisely, not just invest it wisely, to have a better future because the money that we making, you know, when it gets to that time when we want to retire for the young folks out there, if you don't have a certain amount, it could be a problem, you know.
Yeah, it could be a real change in everything. And, excuse me.
You might
Okay.
become a user.
You may become a user here. Well, let's close out now because it's getting close to the hour.
Okay.
Make
Well,
your
for our viewers, we would like to extend the opportunity to recommend topics for us to discuss. And if you'd like to be on the panel, please hit us up in the comment section. We look forward to hearing from you. And until next time,
and with that, we will see you next time, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
and the creek don't rise.